Hello, Dale Majors here, and welcome to day 2 of the Be a Better Employee Masterclass. And last time we talked about getting really clear about what your position was, getting clear on what the metrics are, what success looks like, and last and probably most importantly, that you can give a darn about what you're doing. And today we're going to talk about appreciating the different types of personalities you're working with. So I truly believe that it's very hard for someone to appreciate other people if they don't appreciate themselves. So I really think that we need to value ourselves before we can learn to value other people. And I guess I get that from having dealt with a lot of people who were maybe a little insecure, and when a manager's in an insecure when they're insecure, they're not going to be able to give all of their energy to that person because they're still worried about making themselves look good. So the most important thing I think about being an employee or manager is getting really clear on our self-worth first. And one way to do that is to go through a type of test like the Clifton Strengths Finder, or even just getting online. And if you type in free Clifton Strengths Finder report, I'll include a link in the description. But go through one of those tests, and it talks about your strengths. It's not a weakness finder, it's a strengths finder. So it'll ask you a bunch of questions, maybe take 20 minutes, and then it'll give you a readout that says you're really good at communicating, at being organized, at belief, at being engaged in things, really good at being empathetic towards other people. Whatever those things are that you're great at. And as you see that and realize, oh yeah, I've been in a lot of situations where that came through, I am good at those things, then realizing that you're good makes it a little easier for us to embrace and realize some of the things that we're not that good at. So I think it's really important to understand where we're really strong and where we have a lot of strengths, but then recognize that we have blind spots as well, that there are weakness areas, and be totally okay with that, because no one's expected to be perfect. And we just need to show up the best we can. Now that you've identified your strengths, and you could even call it your genius zone, you can then identify the genius zone of other people. So if you're looking at someone, you basically you'll see what you're looking for. So have you ever had the experience where you saw your friend bought a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, for example, or they bought a Mazda 6 or whatever kind of car, and then once you saw your friend's car, you started seeing those cars all over the place. It's not that more people were buying that car after your friend bought it. They've always been out there. It's that you're now noticing them, you're looking for them. So it's the same thing with people. If you're looking for people's strengths, then you're gonna see their strengths. If you're looking for weaknesses, then you're gonna find their weaknesses. So you wanna get good at identifying people's genius zones. So you're going into a new job, and you're seeing all of these people, and you're going to start making judgment calls. Make those judgment calls based on their genius zone. So find and be looking for and hold out to find what they're amazing at. So I love the movie The Pink Panther, where Steve Martin plays Detective Clouseau, and he is not a very bright guy. He does so many dumb things, but his assistant detective is this guy named Pontone. And Pontone, he is so good at just like humoring Steve, Detective Clouseau, and looking for his genius. And he admires him and respects him the whole time, while we probably don't work with complete idiots and won't. Even if we are, even the worst employee is really good at certain things. So we want to put our focus there, especially if we're not the boss and we're not responsible for who's working with who. It behooves us, and it's best for us if we just focus on finding people's genius zones. So just look around, try to ignore the things that people aren't that good at, and just focus on where they're good and praise them based on that. You're going to integrate into your company so much better if your focus is on what people are good at versus what people aren't good at. I don't know how to emphasize that more, but you'll be such a more valuable asset to the company if you're focused on what's good in all the people around you. All right, have you ever dealt with, and this is point number 3, have you ever dealt with someone who is like always giving off-the-wall comments? Whether it's, and I can't think of any great examples right now, but somebody who you're like, man, that guy is in space half the time. He's crazy, like he's always coming up with these things. So we can, and maybe if you don't know anybody like that, you may be that guy. And it's okay, because I'm kind of that guy sometimes too, where we need the space guys. And I want to share with you a model that is, and we'll put it up on the board, where there's a spaceman, a sky man, and an earth man. So with an idea, and this is a strategic model for like product development, for example, it can be also applied to people, because we want to appreciate all the different perspectives and realize that if we're never the space guy, and we're always the earth guy, there's value in the space guy, especially if we use him right. So let me explain. Imagine that we were doing product development for a mousetrap. So if we're in the brainstorming process, we would say, all right, let us come up with some space ideas. What's like a space idea? Something that's not possible, or that we don't know if it's possible. Then you'd say like, well, what if there was a little tiny box or a pill even that emanated some, scent or some wave that made all of the mice stay 1,000 feet away? What if there was some pill that you could just throw into the corner or something? Then people would be like, well, okay, that's crazy, I don't know. But that's the idea. Then somebody might say, that's a space idea. Somebody might come up with a sky idea in the middle that says, well, I do know that maybe there are frequencies or sound waves that mice are not all that fond of, and we could create a box that played these sound waves, and that could be good up to 100 feet or something. And then the earth guy might say, why don't we just buy a bunch of mouse traps? That's the earth idea, right? It's a mouse trap or something that we already have that's already real. So the space guy, if we just said, oh, that's a stupid idea, and we only listen to the earth guy, we're going to come up with a smarter mousetrap. Maybe we'll make it, the bigger, snapper or something, right? But if we listen to the space guy, then it's a lot more likely that we're going to be able to come up with some sort of innovation. So in your professional experience, you're going to work with people that seem like they're coming from out of left field, or that might throw out these space ideas. Instead of responding in that's stupid, there's no pill that's going to work, or not trying to understand them, be more in a spirit of like, oh, hey, really, that's interesting. I wonder how we can make that work. But just assume that this person is valuable. And if you've got kids, imagine that it's one of your kids or family members that you're rooting for him, and that you're trying to understand him. And that's one thing that I think of a lot. I think, how would I want a manager to manage my son? How would I want a manager to manage my best friend? And it's a lot more tender and sensitive when I say my son. When I think, oh, he's 20 and he's going to go into the workforce and be managed from people, how would you want him to be treated? And I think it's the same thing with coworkers. How would you want to treat your best friend or your sibling or your child? And would you want them to give them the benefit of the doubt, to root for them? So I think if anything that you can take from this video is, with your coworkers, are you rooting for them and are you trying to make them look good? Or are you rooting against them? Are you trying to catch them? And I guarantee that you're going to be much more successful and you're going to be a much more important part of a team if you're the guy that's rooting for other employees around you. And man, just how much better a life can you live, because you're living positively, but also give to those coworkers if they can come to work and feel valued. Where some of those fringe personalities, or that are maybe the space guys, are a little more in the fringe, that are misunderstood more, you could really make their work experience a whole lot more enjoyable. And we spend so much time at work that we want to have positive work relationships with these people that we're working with. So that's the message for today. So the homework is next time you hear a crazy idea from somebody, try to find some of the reason and imagine, I'm rooting for this guy. I'm rooting for this guy. I want to find a way for him to work out and to add value here. So we root for people. That's the lesson for today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about when you should start giving ideas in your new role, and so you don't come off as the know-it-all. And there you go. So thanks for being here. That was day 2 of the masterclass on how to be a better employee. If you enjoyed the video, then subscribe and click the bell if you'd like to get videos 5 days a week that help you be better tomorrow than you are today. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.